Welcome back to another edition of Honey from the Word. Today's devotion is titled, Be Careful What or Who You Let into Your Boat. Coming from the book of Jonah, chapter 1, verses 1 through 15, and I'll be reading various verses. I won't read the whole verse on some of these. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. Then the mariners were afraid, and every man cried out to his God, and threw the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten the load. But Jonah had laid down and was fast asleep. So the captain came to him and said to him, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. And they said to one another, Come, let us cast lots that we may know for whose cause this trouble has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, Please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? So he said to them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he had fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, What shall we do to you that the sea may be calm for us? And he said to them, Pick me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will become calm for you. For I know that this great tempest is because of me. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to return to land, but they could not, for the sea continued to grow more tempestuous against them. Therefore they cried out to the Lord. So they picked up Jonah, threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. What I want us to focus on today is things or people that we let into our ship or into our life. You see, none of us are immune to the storms of life. I don't care how much faith you have, how much you pray or read your Bible, whether you are a Christian or not, each one of us are going to have some storms. Jesus said that the Father sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 45. What is it that causes storms to come into our lives? Well, we know that some storms in life are just inevitable. Some things come our way because we are fallen men and women. Other storms come our way for times of testing. This was certainly the reason for Job's storm. The reason for other storms of life are because of our disobedience. And that was true in Jonah's case. A storm was raging as a result of his going his own way, rebelling against God's will. But I also believe that some storms come because of the Jonahs we let into our boat, because of what or who we let into our boat, into our lives. Let's look just a moment at a brief little bit of the background here. The prophet Jonah lived in the Galilean Sea of Gath-hepher, about 4 miles north of Nazareth, during the reign of Jeroboam, the king of Israel, according to 2 Kings 14:25. Assyria, however, 500 miles to the east, was a constant threat. The fact of the matter is, due to Israel's progressive rebellion, the prophets Hosea and Amos, contemporaries of Jonah, had declared that Jehovah would use Assyria as an instrument of punishment against his people. Look at Hosea 11:5 and Amos 5:27. Any patriotic Israelite would have longed for Assyria's destruction. Nineveh was as wicked as it was impressive. The Assyrians were brutal. They were vicious. They massacred their enemies. They mutilated their captives. They are known to dismember and decapitate people as well as to burn people alive. One can scarcely imagine the confusion that must have filled Jonah's heart when he received the Lord's word instructing him to proceed to Nineveh, the capital city of Assyria, with a divine message. He was to take not a message of destruction, but a message of hope to the savage, murderous people. I'm sure most of us have taken a ship to Tarshish at one time or another. We all know what it means to run the other way. We all know what it is to run from what the Lord wants us to do. A storm came because of who they let in the boat. The storm did not come because they were bad men or had defiled God, but because of whom they let on the boat. Many times the storms that occur in our lives are because of people, because of who or what we let in our boat. Sometimes we let things like depression, discouragement, hurt feelings, low self-esteem, suicidal thoughts, anger, unforgiveness, and on get on our boat. When those things get into our boat, they cause all kinds of storms. We also need to be careful about the people we let on our boat. People that are always talking negative around us. Be careful about letting them on your boat. It also knows that they cried out to the wrong person to help them. They cried out to their own gods for help. And how many times do we go to the wrong source for help for the storm we are in? Listen to this. Your storm reveals your gods. Your storm will reveal who or what you depend on the most. What you believe about God will come out in the storm. Psalms 50 and 51 says, "Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me." Jeremiah 29 and 12 says, "Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you." We also notice about this story is that they threw the wrong things out of the boat in verse 5. So many times we want to get rid of everything but the right thing, which is causing the storm in our lives. Sometimes we get so comfortable with the Jonahs in our life that we have a hard time getting rid of them. It's hard to believe that sometimes people just want to hold on to that depression or self-esteem or that discouragement. We even sometimes don't want to get rid of that person that we think we can't do without in our lives. We'll get rid of everything else but that which is necessary to calm the storm. And finally, they identified the problem by casting lots. In every storm of life, it's important to get to the root, the cause of it all. According to verse 7. You can't expect the storm to cease until you identify what is causing the storm. In verse 12, Jonah gave them the solution to calming the storm. I want to read that from the Message translation. Jonah said, "Throw me overboard into the sea. Then the storm will stop. It's all my fault. I'm the cause of the storm. Get rid of me and you'll get rid of the storm." But they still tried to move on, even though they knew that what was in the boat was causing the storm. So how many times do we try to hold on to the thing that is causing the storm? But notice verse 15. When they got rid of the problem, the storm calmed down. The Message translation says they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and immediately the sea was quieted down. As long as Jonah, because of the storm, was on the ship, the sky was dark, the thunder rolled, the lightning flashed, the winds blew, the waves beat against the ship, and the rain fell in torrents from the sky. The moment they got the problem off the boat, peace came. So I want to ask you today, what Jonah have you let on your boat? When you get rid of Jonah, your life will get back on course.